Paper Mario is a beloved series of 3 games, one monstrosity, and one that was alright? The point being, after the first 2 games, the series went sideways in terms of the RPG genre. I originally was going to talk about how there was a dry spell since Color Splash, but then Nintendo dropped the Origami King out of nowhere and put me between a rock and a hard place when it comes to making this video. I'm going to stick to my guns though, and make a separate Origami King video and focus on this. Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling is a 2019 indie game by Moonsprout Games, published and localized by Dangan Entertainment. You play as the exploration team Team Snakemouth, comprised of the Beetle Kabu, the Bee V, and the Moth Leaf. Together, you search for the artifacts to help Queen Elizant II find the Everlasting Sapling. Despite the plot initially seeming simple, the game itself expands upon every concept the Paper Mario games implemented, and it makes it better. For a start, as soon as you beat the tutorial, you can talk to artists in the Association building and get the Hard Mode medal, this game's equivalent of badges. It costs nothing, and it makes even basic enemies tougher in various ways, but you get more exploration points, and items, and berries drop more frequently. I heard the game was balanced around the medal being equipped, and that's how I recommend you play it. But if it's too much, no shame in playing without it. Because this game doesn't have to cater to a more general audience, it's allowed to bring more of a challenge, which is much appreciated. The Paper Mario games are really easy, and the more powerful strategies are for higher tiers of play, but not a necessity. I streamed myself playing this game from start to finish, and I died multiple times on bosses just trying to figure out the best course of action. The best part about the way this is balanced is that if you die in a major fight like a boss fight, you can retry immediately without having to rewatch a cutscene or anything else. You can also change your loadout if your medals weren't equipped where you wanted them to be, or to try a new tactic altogether. You will have to rewatch any cutscene before a major fight if you reload the save due to needing items or whatnot, however. If there's one thing that's apparent when it comes to Bug Fables, is the love and care that went into it. Sure, a couple of things here or there I may have a nitpick for, but overall the game design has the player in mind at all times. From as early as Chapter 2, you unlock the ant tunnels that acts as a hub for all the major locations you can go to. When quests send you all over the world to do things here or there, it's extremely convenient and it only costs 15 to 35 berries depending on how far you're in, and if you aren't skipping fights, it's a drop in the bucket. All the game asks of you is that you travel there on foot first, and then you have access to the shortcut. In the Paper Mario games, getting around could be a bit of a pain, especially with the backtracking. There was no convenient way to get where you needed to go, even with the pipe system, which you didn't unlock until you obtained certain upgrades. Unless you're a speedrunner. The game rules don't apply if you're a speedrunner. The point being, I'm incentivized to explore the world of Bugaria and the many secrets it holds. Cooking is another aspect that's been vastly improved. Now you have 3 cooks in 3 of the major towns, and while the concept is the same, due to the difficulty, you'll actually need the items you can make, and they tie in heavily with the different status effect strategies you could use. Combined with the shortened cooking time and the fact that fried, cut, and crispy can all make a signature dish that you unlock through questing, it makes it worth it to see all 3. Especially since Fry's Ultimate combines cut and crispy dishes together, and it isn't too hard or expensive to make after a certain point. As I alluded to earlier, this game also overhauled the medal system they use. Like in the Paper Mario games, there are some medals that give Team Snakemouth extra abilities, but the other medals play around with the strategy a lot more. Status effects have a lot more weight put on them this time around, from enemies inflicting it upon you to you inflicting it upon yourself. The medals themselves either help you resist or even straight up buff you if you're under one of the effects: frozen, paralyzed, poison, or sleep. Burn also exists, but no medals work for it for reasons. Shh. Combining them with the food you can craft can make for some very interesting combinations. Then there's the fact that you have 3 party members instead of 2. With each member having a particular skill set, no one is useless in a fight. Kabu is the best for piercing defense and tanking, Leaf is a mage that can freeze enemies or buff debuff or in between, V is the only one with access to healing abilities and is also the only one that can hit airborne enemies out of the sky with her basic attack and can be quite the glass cannon. Combined with a fantastic turn relay where you can give a bug another bug's turn, you're unlikely to run into a turn where you can't do anything, and even if you do, there are medals that can give you something if you choose do nothing. A turn is never wasted. Jumping off from there, the fact that you have the same 3 party members throughout the whole game means these characters are allowed to get development, and each one of them inevitably gets their own side quest dedicated to some aspect of their character. And who are these characters besides their names? Well, Kabu is the moral compass of the group, a good guy doing his best to keep V in line and to help others despite not being from the main hub area of the Ant Kingdom. He's also a giant nerd. V is the selfish and money-grubbing adventurer with a desire to make a name for herself. She's not afraid to show her emotions or even have the gall to ask for a reward, which both Kabu and I panic at every single time. V is determined to get the job done, for the right price at least, leading to some of the most fun banter in the game. Leaf is the monotone one with a weakness for cute things, food, and will absolutely stomp your face at wizard carts, spy carts. He's a bug out of time with memories of the first Queen Alicent, but other parts being patchy. If I recommend you do any one side quest, it's Leafs, but honestly all of them are worth doing for the story aspects alone. The best part about having a party instead of partners is that everything reinforces their bond together, and every move you can do in the field can be transferred into your skills in battle. If you do certain side quests or even follow the main story, you unlock combo skills that allow 2 to all 3 of your party members to team up and do massive damage. Their teamwork growing stronger and them becoming closer as friends to allow them to do these special moves is just good game design. You want to see Team Snakemouth succeed and to be there for each other, and it only gives you benefits in the long run as a player. It's beautiful. The side quests in general are worth doing. Sometimes it's finding something, other times it's a fight you're not prepared for and you get your ass handed to you! Either way, the reward will be a medal, berries, or something else cool like the recipes I told you about earlier. And the best part? None of it is locked off from you. There's no point of no return in terms of getting stuff done and 100%ing the game. If you want to save all the quests for the post-game, I'd call you crazy, but you could wrap up anything you wanted to after the credits roll, which for me was a godsend. And while you can't 100% the game until the post-game due to a side quest opening up as a last hurrah, the rest is easily accomplished. Now I want to talk about the soundtrack. Every major theme, aside from the Termagame minigame songs, was done by one person, Tristan Elric. There are so many bops in this game that I go back to all the time. Not only does it capture the Paper Mario feel, it also captures the feeling of this game being about bugs. Each major area has a song unique to it that sets the tone. This is no better demonstrated than with the boss themes. Chapter 1 is a spider boss, and the theme titled, His Friends Call Him Sputter, Don't Call Him Sputter, fits a spider boss completely. It emulates a spider's vibe with its tricky webbing and ruthless violence. Another good example for how wildly different but fitting the music is Chapter 3 with the Mechanical Bee Boss. The whole area of the honey production plant has a technological vibe to it, and the boss theme is no exception. No song is out of place, and it's a vital part to giving this game life. It is incredible and great, and it fills me with joy. While the game doesn't build on the paper aesthetic much aside from certain screen transitions or character animation, at the end of the day, at least to me, it doesn't matter. The way the devs used the Paper Mario aesthetic to stylize their game was well executed and, need I say it, very, very cute. It's bright and colorful, scary, intense, and just about everything in between. As of time of writing, I've done one complete playthrough on PC, and I've almost beaten the game again on Switch. I love this game, if I haven't made that obvious. Any nitpicks I have are just that. While some of the platforming and using V's Beamerang could be tricky for first-timers, playing the game, I found myself not having nearly as much trouble on my Switch playthrough, and I played with the controller both times. It's slightly janky at first, but you get used to it over time and it becomes second nature. My only other nitpick is that some of the textures seem a little bit low resolution, but it's only a handful at best, and it doesn't detract from the overall experience. Although, this is coming from someone who thinks that the original Wii version of Xenoblade Chronicles is pretty, so take my words with a grain of salt. Now that I've covered everything major, I want to end this video by me simply gushing about this game. I'm so glad that this game is getting more attention from folks. This game came out in late 2019, and honestly, it deserved to be on some of the Game of the Year lists, but seemingly didn't get the attention it deserved until this year. When I say that this game is better than Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, I mean it, and I love that game as well. Bug Fables is a tight experience and doesn't have any major dips where I'm dreading to go back. Every chapter is solid in its own right, and the character interactions are so incredibly strong and well thought out. Leaf's gradual trust of Alicent II and finally considering her his queen is satisfying. Kabu's emotional struggle is heartbreaking. V talking back and speaking her mind while slightly becoming more generous and genuinely caring about those close to her makes me incredibly happy. A second playthrough really showed me how well this game foreshadows its future plot reveals and nothing feels left in the dust. It's a tight experience with no bloat. Do you like optional bosses where there's like 15 of them scattered across the world just sitting there waiting for you to find them, or more challenging bounty fights that are unique in their own right? I'm not a boss fight person, but the surprise and the mechanical aspects brought to the table in some of these battles are refreshing and fun. And then there's the tattling you can do in the overworld. Sometimes you don't get something unique and it's simply we must go to our objective in times of tension, but nearly everywhere else there is unique banter between the party. It can even differ if you title NPCs as well, which adds to the charm of the game. The bestiary also has unique title lines for the 3 party members, so if you titled the seedling using Leaf, V and Kabu have their own versions in there as well. They didn't have to put in that much effort, but they did, and I appreciate it so much. The lore in this game was something I wasn't expecting. Throughout the game, you can find 28 different books from side quests or simply being lost in the worlds somewhere, and each one talks about a different aspect of this culture. The biggest one being that something just happened to the humans and they simply aren't around anymore, and many bugs just gained sentience out of nowhere in the Day of Awakening. Toss us in the same pile as Splatoon, where it's a very cheery post-apocalyptic game. But even besides the in-universe explanation for how it's possible for this bug's life to exist, other aspects like how most bugs lost their ability to fly except for bees and wasps but still have wings, to how making honey changed, or how family units are formed and social norms for how to treat your queen when she's also technically your mom. So much care was put into this game. Going into it, I was expecting something that was going to scratch that Paper Mario itch I had. I thought, at least it's cute, and it's a traditional RPG where the experience points matters again. What I got was a game that was incredibly special. Part of me was worried that I'd get to a part and suddenly all of that charm would be stripped away from a bad section, but that never came to fruition. It just kept getting better. Thank you Moonsprout Games and Dangan Entertainment.